Hi everyone, today we are going to do a special program about education. Now we are at the University of Colombo Arts Faculty and we are going to interview Senior Lecturer of International Relations, Dr Pavithra Jayawardane. Doctor, very welcome to the Daily News new program about education. You are warmly welcome here.
Thank you.
So basically we are going to do this program about the education. You know, the UNESCO has announced the Education Day, special day for education, which is going to be held in 24th of January. So basically we are going to cover up the basic area of education related to Sri Lanka. So first of all, I would like to ask from the doctor, what are the latest incidents that you are doing researches or studies, or we are in the campus, so
Yes.
you must have a busy life here.
Yeah, so we have just started a new semester in the new year. So we are busy teaching as well as finalizing some exam work. But I'm also involved in research that I do. I do research on Sri Lankan migration specifically. So as well as in many other civil society activities.
Of course, we have been seen her addressing public about the migration facts and about the incidents about, the Sri Lanka is facing currently kind of economic crisis. So the people who are migrating from our country the amount of people who are migrating have increased. So basically that's also a concern. When you talk about the education, some are going for educational purposes, some are going as skilled migrants, which affects the economy of Sri Lanka. So basically, madam, my first question is to you is that it's a basic one, but I would like to ask you about the wholesome approach about that importance of education in the modern society, which is.
So Nalaka, I think education is a very important thing in the modern society, because in modern society when we use the term modern society, we mean democratic societies where our existence is dependent on the other person's existence too. So no matter how much we like to be isolated and have very isolated lives, it's not possible in modern societies. We have a governance structure, it's a democratic structure. We are also part of the governance through voting and all that. So it's very important that in this a modern society will function really well if there are very critical citizens who are empowered through education. So we used to say that citizens they are not born, they become. So if you want a society where people are so critical and conscious and active citizens, it is the education which can enable them to be so. So in that context, it's a very general big question, but to give you a very quick summary, education is the key in the modern societies. If we want our democracies to be true democracies, if we want our societies to be free for everyone, education is where we should be investing.
Right. That is what doctor says, that the importance of education in the modern society. We know that Sri Lanka is going through some tough time with the economic and the current situations. Politically and economically, there are tough times going on. How does it affects when it comes to education? How does it affects to the population of the Sri Lanka?
So Nalaka, I think it's a very timely question, because we are seeing a lot of budget allocated fundings are being cut off for state education. So as educators in the state universities, we are now for save the state university's logo, because we see that there's a lot of budgetary reductions have been going on. But that's also because now when Sri Lanka is having this issue which is an economic one in the outset, when you look at it at the surface, of course it's an economic crisis, but more than that, it's a crisis of the governance that is in a very complicated way correlates with all the other issues that we have, including the national issue of Sri Lanka, the issues that we are facing in terms of our ethnic issue, which is not, I mean, right now we don't even talk about these things because the economic angle of looking at things is overrated right now. So I think, the responsible authorities I think they pay a blind eye to the importance of education in Sri Lanka right now. Well, it's a very interesting case in terms of Sri Lanka, because on one hand we know our literacy rates are so high in terms of the other South Asian countries, but then on the other hand there's also critiques against state education, asking, okay fine, now we have invested so much on state education, free education, but we have a group of citizens who might not be as critical as we might want to have. So what is the role that the free education has played? So again, it's also a very relevant question. Again, on the other hand, as the way that you started, migration and brain drain, some people would say that, see, actually what has happened is that free education has helped a certain group of people who have been empowered by education to move away from Sri Lanka. So they are not even contributing back to the society. So the investment of free education has not given us the return that we wanted. Again, a very relevant and a very sensible argument. But even if it is the case, I don't see any other possible factor that would have affected any society, if we are talking about a society's being developed and peaceful. So these are the two things, Nalaka, that we have been seeking for in modern societies: peace and development. All the other subcategories, sub-branches, or whatever we are talking, we can group them into these two big themes. So yes, economic issues and economic way of looking at things is being overrated in the country right now. But if we really want to look at it in a more sustainable way, you can't keep a blind eye on education too.
So basically, Doctor, when you talk about the Education Day that has been named by the UNESCO, Learning for Peace, how should it relate to our country when it comes to Sri Lanka with the diverse ethnicity and all of that? The people are different with their cultural aspects. So how does it affect the Sri Lankan context?
Yeah, I think Sri Lanka is a pretty clear case when it comes to the peace studies. Sri Lanka is considered as one of these very important examples in peace studies, the discipline itself. So what I would think is that although one would think, okay, we are now a peaceful country, yet there's no need to talk about ethnic issues. There might not be ethnic issues anymore, which again you all know that it's not as simple as that. I think education for peace is very important, especially for Sri Lanka, is because the root causes of most of our problems, including the economic issues, have links to our ethnic problem. I mean, if I very quickly explain what I meant, is that now we have passed certain time periods in Sri Lankan political history where people actually consented for corruption, saying that little corruption is okay as long as we are being saved, we are being protected, we are being secured by certain leaders. Again, the cost has been on the ethnic issues that we have. So our political landscape in Sri Lanka is very much still, and it's very unfortunate to see, even after so much of experiences through multiple generations, we still do not pay enough attention to resolve those root cause problems that we have. Now we might have holding into this economic issue and thinking that, okay, this is purely economic, but the causes are not economic. Probably the effects are economic, but the causes are political, ethnic, security related, community related. So I think in terms of Sri Lanka, education for peace is something that we cannot escape. We have escaped enough. We have experimented this and that, but not in a very sustainable and grounded way. and probably this might not be a very popular thing to say right now, because we think that our problems are purely economic, so our savior is only IMF, but it's not true.
Yes, actually, some of people are drafting it as an economical problem that we have, but according to Dr. As she said, that it is not the purely economical, it has roots to the peace building, all the relations, all the wars and everything that we had gone through in the past 30 years. So basically, the third one I would like to ask you is that the practicality of peace building through education in Sri Lanka. I know that when it comes to theories and all the structures, that as the lecturers you can educate people, but the practicality of things need to be concerned.
Of course, I think, looking at it from an optimistic point of view, I think after the end of the civil war, Sri Lanka has come on a certain journey where we experimented many things. So in peace studies, we have 4 categories as to how we can respond towards conflict. Conflict management, conflict prevention, conflict transformation, and post-conflict reconciliation. Now, reconciliation has been the buzzword, at a certain period in Sri Lanka, although now it's the economic crisis. So in the name of reconciliation, we have tried and tested many things across different layers, Nalaka. So from the community level, resettlement, refugee camps, getting people into restore people's lives, trying to make cross-ethnic, relationships in the very communal level, but also in the policy level, we have tried certain things, but we have not given enough, attempt to find out the best Sri Lankan solutions to Sri Lankan issues. We have been too much involved by international entities, but we also have made false promises to the international community, which looks like a very opportunistic approach, whereas in the ground leaders would say something else. In the international community it's one story, but when they are back in Sri Lanka it's another story. So I think from a practical point of view, yes, we have tried. We have also tested some lessons learned committee, for example, would have been a very innovative example from Sri Lanka, but we did not give it enough attention and genuine attention, I would say, because again everything is linked with politics, voting, all that. So I think Sri Lanka has tested several things across different layers, but there's a lot of things that we still need to do.
So I would like to ask you from the education point of that, how would affect Sri Lanka a better education system? What are your suggestions as a lecturer or an academic? What are your suggestions about reforming education? I know everyone is going to tell that we need reforms, we need the education system must have to change. So as a lecturer, academic, what are your suggestions?
The first suggestion that I would like to make is that we really need a mega reforms at the school education level. Yes, we are a free education providing country, but it doesn't say anything about the quality of our education. To get the best output of the best outcome of the free education, it's very important that we pay careful attention to the quality of education, the quality of the teachers, the infrastructure that we can keep, as well as curricula. There's no point if still our curricula are so backward, promote certain, very repressive, power structures. I have seen, I have first-hand experience to say that, Sri Lankan citizenship education does not actually activate citizenry. On the other hand, it actually encourages passive citizenship. So yes, we have recognized that citizenship education is important, but we have not yet recognized what has to be the content in it? What are the teaching techniques, pedagogy that we should use? Is it still the one dimensional, one way teaching, or student centric education that we are providing? We have still failed to have multi-ethnic schools, for example. I mean, it has been 75 years after the post independence, but we still have schools assigned for different religions, ethnic categories, even gender. So can't talk about cross-ethnic, cross-gender, cross-class reconciliation in the society if you don't pay attention to these micro level aspects. So school education, I think we need strong reforms. It's very urgent. And then on the other hand, in multiple other education levels as well, in the secondary, tertiary, state education, private education. There's a lot of discussions these days about privatizing private education institutes are being coming out, but we still don't have proper monetary systems, regulatory systems. We are talking about abolishing the University Grants Commission, but we don't have proper other alternatives, how to overcome the issues that we have. So I think reforms, effective policies with proper consultations with stakeholders is a must, and in that task I think educators have a big role to play.
Education is the most important thing that we Lankans can thrive forward as a nation, as a country. So basically, Doctor, another thing that I wanted to ask you from that, you told that you are studying about and researching about migration subject. That whole lot of people are migrating, especially skilled migration persons, and also some of the students who are actively engaging in university academic arena, and some of the academics, talented academics, are traveling overseas for their, maybe they have personal issues and all of that, but they are trying to have a better life, I would say, better socially or personally alive. So what are your thoughts about migration with this education sector? All of the most popular term, migration, is now.
Yes, of course, and brain drain. I think it's migration decisions are usually being affected by multiple factors, from home society factors, host society factors, as well as individual factors. Right now, the push factors that this country has produced is like skyrocketing. I mean, people have very sensible questions that they will ask us if we ask them not to migrate. They'll say, can you assure a better future for us to our kids? And which is a very honest question that one would have. But what I would want to tell is that migration is a big decision. It has to be looked from a very logical point of view. Right now what I see is that, just escaping from Sri Lanka is the most popular rhetoric. That destination, it could be anywhere. The narrative is so powerful that everyone thinks landing in wherever is better than living in Sri Lanka. But I must remind that this migration is also a business. It is being sponsored by so much of companies, agencies, and also host country entities, because migration is a business now. It's for education especially. It's a huge international students is a huge community where host countries are also benefited without, in most of the time, giving back certain rights and privileges to international students. So the rhetorics and narratives would be so powerful both nationally as well as internationally, but please be logical, please be rational, think twice and thrice, and be mindful about your migration journey. Otherwise, it would be a starting of another problem rather than finding a solution for a problem that you have encountered in the home country.
Right. We talked about the education, and we talked about the migration, the opportunities that Sri Lankans had, and the best, one of the popular topics in current Sri Lankan society. And also as a nation, we must have to think about our generation, our future generations' education prospects. On 24th January is the UNESCO Day of Education, which is the theme is learning for the lasting peace. So thank you very much, Doctor, sharing your thoughts and suggestions about education. We will be back in another quite wonderful episode. Till then, goodbye.